Let me tell you one legend about Maastricht. The third fisherman. Two men from Maastricht went fishing by night near the Maas River. They found a small barge and sailed out. After a few hours of looking out over the dark waters and catching fish, one of the fishermen looked to the side and got such a shock that he bumped into his friend. The other man looked and turned ash gray. "Are you seeing that too?" one muttered. "Yes, I am," whispered the other. But neither of them moved. They felt as if they were nailed down. At the front of the boat, a third fisherman was sitting with his rod cast out, his back towards them. The two fishermen stared at the surprised visitor, not even moving when they got a bite on their line. After what seemed like ages, the church bell struck one. The third fisherman stood up, turned, and walked towards them. The first man hid his face in his hands, but the second one saw that the stranger's face looked like it was spun from cobwebs. As he moved past them and stepped over the side, the boat never rocked and the water never wrinkled. The Headless Man. A ghost story in Maastricht. This story takes place by the Maas River. One night, a merchant was waiting for a ferry. The oarsman refused to let him cross, saying the headless man was roaming the opposite shore. The merchant joked that without a head, this man would have no teeth to bite him, and demanded a cross. The merchant got off across the river and continued on foot. After a while, he became aware of a gigantic dark shape by his side. It stopped when he stopped, and moved when he moved. When he finally dared to face the shape, he saw a 5 meter tall man with broad shoulders and no head. He looked down, and two long horse legs clopped over the ground. The merchant kept walking, staring straight ahead, while the headless man walked by his side. Under his breath, he constantly muttered a prayer. When he finished the words, the headless man disappeared with a loud wail, leaving behind a hellish smell. The Legend of the Wooden Shoes. Author William Elliott Griffiths. Illustrations by Irakli Tatishvili. In years long gone, millions of good fairies came down from the sun and went into the earth. There they changed themselves into roots and leaves and became trees. There were many kinds of these as they covered the whole earth, but the pine and birch, ash and oak were the main ones that made Holland. The oak was the favorite tree for people. It had power to heal and give hope, joy and happiness. When cows came into the land and sheep and horses multiplied, more open ground was needed for pasture, grain fields and meadows. Instead of the dark woods, men liked to have their gardens and orchards open to the sunlight. So forests had to be cut down. Man was so busy with the axe that in a few years the woodlands was gone. Then the New Holland, with its people and red-roofed houses, with its chimneys and windmills, and dikes and storks, took the place of the old woodland of many trees. There was a good man, a carpenter, very skillful with his tools, who so loved the oak that he gave himself and his children after him the name of Van Eyck, which is pronounced Eyck and is Dutch for oak. Van Eyck mourned over the loss of the forests. He was frightened at the thought that the new land, made by pushing back the ocean and building dikes, might sink down again and go back to the fishes. In such a case, all the people, the babies and their mothers, the men and women, horses and cattle, all would be drowned. One day, while sitting on his doorstep, brooding sorrowfully, a moss maiden and a tree elf appeared, hand in hand. They came up to him and told him that old oak tree, which his father loved, had a message for him. Then they laughed and ran away. Van Eyck went into the forest and stood under the grand oak tree, the one which his father loved, and which he could allow none to cut down. Looking up, the leaves of the tree rustled, and one big branch seemed to sweep near him. Then it whispered in his ear, "Do not mourn, for your descendants shall see greater things than you have witnessed." "I cannot see how all these things can be," said Van Eyck. "Fear not, my promise will endure. We shall help you and get our friends, the elves, to do the same. Now do you take some oak wood and saw off 2 pieces, each a foot long. See that they are well dried, then set them on the kitchen table tonight when you go to bed." Van Eyck went to his woodshed and sawed off the oak timber. At night, after his wife had cleared off the supper table, he puts the foot-long pieces on the table. When Van Eyck woke up in the morning, he recalled his dream and, before he was dressed, hurried to the kitchen. There on the table lay a pair of neatly made wooden shoes. When he glanced again at the wooden shoes, he found them perfectly smooth, both inside and out. He tried them on and found that they fitted him exactly. He tried to walk on the kitchen floor, which his wife kept polished, but for Van Eyck it was like walking on ice and nearly breaking his nose against the wall. However, when he went outdoors, he found his new shoes very light, pleasant to the feet and easy to walk in. That night, in his dreams, he saw 2 elves come through the window into the kitchen. One had a box of tools. At first, The two elves seemed to be quarreling. Then they settled down quietly to work. One took the wood and shaped it on the outside. Then he hollowed out from the inside of it a pair of shoes, which the other smoothed and polished. Then they put them on their little feet, waltzed together upon the wooden shoes, then took them off, jumped out the window, and ran away. When Van Eyck's wife and children saw how happy Daddy was, they each wanted a pair. Then they asked him what he called them. Klompen, said he in good Dutch, and klompen or klomps they are to this day. I will make a fortune out of this, said Van Eyck. I will set up a klompwinkel, shop for wooden shoes, at once. Soon klomps came to be in the fashion in all the country places. When rich beyond his daydreams, Van Eyck had another joyful night vision. The wood elves came to him again at night and danced. They were lively and happy. What now? Asked the dreamer, smiling off his two visitors. It's a pile driver, said the elf, showing him how to use it. Now you can tell the people how to build cities with mighty churches, with lofty towers, and with high houses like those in the other lands. I will make another fortune out of this, said the happy Van Eyck. Van Eyck set up a factory for making pile drivers, sending men into the woods, who would choose the tall, straight trees, and he had their branches cut off. Then he sharpened the trunks at one end, and they were driven by the pile driver down, far and deep into the ground. So a foundation as good as stone was made in the soft and spongy soil, and well-built houses uprose by the thousands. Even the lofty walls of churches stood firm. The high tops of the bell towers were unshaken in the storm. Soon there rose large cities, with splendid town halls, high cathedrals and towers. On top of the forest trees, they were driven deep into the sand and clay. Dams and dikes were built that kept out the ocean. So, instead of the old 2,000 square miles there were in the realm, in the course of years there was created 12,000, rich in green fields and cattle. And since then, everybody was so happy, they often were dancing around the big and strong oak.